Good night, Boswe, Mamai Leba, and all patriotic St. Lucians who are here tonight supporting and expressing their dissatisfaction with what's happening in this country. Tonight, I want you to help me. Tonight, you are the jury, and I am the judge. And I want you to listen carefully. I do not want you to rush. I want you to take your time. You've heard all the speakers before me. All of them. And I'm going tonight to lay the charges against Alan Chastney. And you are the jury. And I want, when I lay the charges, for you to tell me whether you think he's guilty or not guilty. And at the end of it, we will read the judgment against Alan Chastney. So as the judge, I will present accordingly. Fellow St. Lucians, the Alan Chastney and Guy Joseph UWP government was elected to office on June the 6th, 2016, and has been in office for the last 27 months. The party promised to bring peace, prosperity, and good governance to the people of St. Lucia. They promised to build a better St. Lucia. Instead, they have built a bitter St. Lucia with division, victimization, and discord. Our country is in crisis, and we have come here to send a clear signal to the Alan Chastney and Guy Joseph government that we cannot take it any longer. We have listened to the sufferings of St. Lucians from all walks of life. We have listened and we have spoken to UWPs who are crying that this is no longer the party of John Compton. And they too, one them tried for political treason and for eradicating the memory of Sir John Compton. So we have come to the People's Court to formally lay charges against Alan Chastney and his cabinet. They are all on trial. Everyone is part of the destruction of our country, whether in the forefront like Guy Joseph or silent like Bradley Felix. Tonight, we have 25 charges against the Alan Chastney and Guy Joseph regime. And as I lay them individually to you, I will ask you, the people of the jury, to deliberate and render your verdict of guilty or non-guilty. Boko, boko, boko. The people of the jury, are you ready for me to read out the charges? Charge 1. The Alan Chastney regime has willfully and deliberately robbed the people of St. Lucia of over 900 acres of prime lands via the DSH project. The DSH agreement is also injurious to our national interests in several clauses, including the buyback clause and the illegal escrow account clause. How do you rule? Guilty or not guilty? Charge 2. Not the 25, huh? Charge 2. The Alan Chastney regime has willfully and deliberately wasted undisclosed millions of dollars in contracting Ernst & Young to prepare our national budget, which for decades was prepared by the qualified professionals in the Ministry of Finance. How do you rule? Guilty or not guilty? Charge number 3. The Alan Chastney regime has willfully and deliberately wasted over $10 million on Ojo Labs that has no commensurate benefits for the unemployed young people of St. Lucia. How do you rule? Guilty or not guilty? Charge number 4. The Alan Chastney regime has diverted millions of dollars from our National Skills Development Center to CHTTI, the private school of Minister Guy Joseph Wife, which has closed down and left several hundred young people with student loans and no certification. How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty? Charge number 5. The Alan Chasse regime has given away $24 million of St. Lucia revenue to their bosses' sandals. How do you rule? Charge number 6. The Alan Chasse regime contracted away $34 million to be used by his friend Don Lockerbie, while schools and hospitals remain unfinished and closed. How do you rule? Charge number 7. The Alan Chasse regime cost the people of St. Lucia a loss of $33 million, plus the Black Bay Range Hotel and jobs as a result of their failures in dealing with the developer. How do you rule? Charge number 8. The Alan Chasse regime cost the people of St. Lucia over $2.7 million in penalties for cancelling the Yoronora International Airport PPP with the World Bank, and intends to impose over $400 million debt plus interest on the backs of St. Lucians to upgrade the airport. How do you rule? Charge number 9. Almost 2.5 years after its election, the Alan Chasse regime has failed to complete and open St. Jude Hospital and the OKEU Hospital as promised in their 2016 election manifesto. How do you rule? Charge number 10. The Alan Chasse regime has wasted almost $1 million on an unnecessary technical audit of the St. Jude Hospital project, whilst trying to hide the project manager's handover report, which contained all the information they needed to know. How do you rule? Charge number 11. The Alan Chasse regime has spent $12 million on temporary accommodation in makeshift containers for hospital staff at the George Odlum Stadium, while endangering the lives of patients, nurses, doctors, and other hospital staff and visitors. That money can be used to finish St. Jude. How do you rule? Charge number 12. The Alan Chasse regime is responsible for the loss of dozens of St. Lucian lives due to its stubborn and reckless refusal to complete the St. Jude's Hospital, and it intends to use those hospitals for private medical schools. How do you rule? Charge number 13. The Alan Chasse regime is responsible for the loss of life at the ill-advised standalone dialysis unit, which was commissioned at the OKEU against the advice of medical professionals. How do you rule? Charge number 14. The Alan Chasse regime has created a crisis in healthcare in St. Lucia by failing after 2.5 years to open the OKEU, which he said before the elections was completed, and instead is trying to privatize the hospital, primarily for tourists and his friends. How do you rule? Charge number 15. The Alan Chasse regime demonstrated a vengeful and vindictive approach to government operations, which has resulted in professionals and the organizations being attacked and maligned. The annual subvention of the St. Lucia National Trust has been withdrawn, and the nation station, Radio St. Lucia, been summarily shut down. How do you rule? Charge number 16. The Alan Chasse regime failed to demonstrate any respect and appreciation for our Nobel laureates, Sir Arthur Lewis and Sir Derek Walcott, since it failed to properly fund the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College and abandoned the Derek Walcott House and Theatre project. How do you rule? The Alan Chasse regime demonstrated no respect for the rights of our young people to a quality education by failing to fund school repairs, chopping the laptop program, and treating the funding of Sir Arthur Lewis Community College as a favor by government and not a right of the students. How do you rule? Charge number 18. The Alan Chasse regime has demonstrated divisive, incompetent, wasteful, and bad governance by stopping several positive public projects like the Suffrage Square, the Viewfort Administrative Building, the Grosley Highway redevelopment, and others. How do you rule? Charge number 19. The Alan Chastanet regime has engaged in petty and vindictive governance by picking senseless fights with the likes of architect Mark Hennicat, engineer John Peters, the St. Lucia Dental and Medical Association, the St. Lucia Civil Service Association. How do you rule? Guilty or not guilty? Charge 20. The Alan Chastanet regime has viciously attacked media personnel who express a dissenting view and has threatened to introduce legislation to censor the media. How do you rule? Charge 21. The Alan Chastanet regime has been deliberately dishonest with the people of St. Lucia and with several specific groups, including tourist board workers, nurses, doctors, and customs officers, on their right to employment in light of proposed policy changes. Those workers have not been consulted for their unions and have been told by the Alan Chastanet regime over the media that their jobs and benefits would be secure, but the actions of the government tells a totally different story. How do you rule? Charge 22. The Alan Chastanet regime disrespected the people of St. Lucia by calling opposition parliamentarians backing dogs and calling Calypsonians and other St. Lucians jackasses. How do you rule? Charge 23. The Alan Chastanet regime has refused to come to Parliament to account for the receipt and use of CIP monies, resulting in St. Lucians not knowing how millions of dollars have been spent. How do you rule? Charge 24. The Alan Chastanet regime has ordered the demolition of public property which are central to our history, namely the courthouse, Parliament, the Princery, and now the old prisons, without any consultation or dialogue with the people of St. Lucia. How do you rule? And charge 25. The Alan Chastanet regime has willfully and deliberately terminated the NICE program, the laptop program, the home distress program, reduced the school assistance program, stop maintaining playing fields, stop Wi-Fi in areas like Cicera, stop the after-school program in areas like Fuasho, because he believes to help disadvantaged people means to make them beggars. How do you rule? Are they guilty on all charges? So what's the judgment? What is the judgment? What is the judgment? Well, the foreman of the jury has given me the judgment to read. I shall read it. In view of the fact that this jury, representing a wide cross-section of St. Lucian voters, has found the Alan Chastanet regime guilty on all 25 counts of the indictment, it is hereby ordered that all necessary actions be undertaken with due urgency to remove the Alan Chastanet regime from the backs of the St. Lucian people in the shortest possible time. Thank you very much.